When a life is taken violently, possibly the most impacted person is the mother of the victim. That's why a local group called Mothers with a Message is vowing to break the cycle of violence by rehabilitating offenders from the inside out. KPBS reporter Maya Travolsi has the first part of a two-part series.
It's a busy morning at Mount Hope Cemetery in San Diego. A freshly dug grave awaits its new resident, while others are being prepared for theirs. It's a familiar place to Bevelyn Bravo.
This is where my son is buried.
7 years ago, her 21-year-old son, Jaime Jr., was stabbed and left to die as he walked out of a friend's house in City Heights.
They didn't know my son, but I believe that day was some sort of gang day.
Her pain as raw now as it was then, and during the 5 years she spent in court, until two men were finally convicted of Jaime's murder.
And I went into court crying for the son that I had lost, and I left that courtroom crying for these young people that decided to take my son's life. I took so many pictures of him when he was little.
She decided to use her own tragic story.
This is him growing up.
To effect change. Together with other moms of murdered sons and daughters, she formed a group called Mothers with a Message.
It's a mother's pain. We carry our child for 9 months. And when that child is taken, at whatever age that may be, something inside of you dies.
The women took their grief into the community, hoping to divert youth before more murders took place, but also after, within the correctional system itself.
Look how many people that you've hurt because of your choice.
And that is exactly where Dennis Martinez knew their message would be taken most to heart.
When I heard that story, when she shared that time for the first time, you could hear a pin drop. And I knew that this was going to be a success. Hi, I'm former world and U.S. skateboard champion Dennis Martinez. I lost everything.
He turned a life of addiction-fueled crime into prison ministry.
I don't care if they're blasted with tattoos or if whatever crime they've committed. If they're willing to change, I was willing to work with them.
He now runs a faith-based residential treatment center in Spring Valley for offenders entering back into society.
When you go to prison, your family goes to prison. Your wife goes to prison. Your kids go to prison.
Training Center is a state-licensed facility that offers housing, counseling, and workshops designed to help transition men back to life on the outside.
You can never go back in time and change what took place. But you sure darn well can change this moment right now and move forward to make sure that it never happens again. And that's my job, is to get these guys prepared to come out. And so I need the right tools to accomplish this. So I need the shotgun blast. And the Mothers with a Message is my shotgun blast.
Together, Martinez and Mothers with a Message created a curriculum of rehabilitation, which they then brought inside the walls of California prisons.
And you would see hundreds of inmates come. They would stop what they're doing, and they would listen to what the moms had to say, and then they would talk about what it was like to lose a kid, and then they talked about, I forgave that person who killed my kid. They hear forgiveness. They hear redemption.
For many offenders, it would be years, even decades in prison before they can humanize their victim.
And a lot of them break down because a lot of them want to get to their victims, families, and say they're so sorry for what they've done, but they don't know how to say it. And so they get there and they hear this, and they break down. The hardest of the hardest criminals crying.
Hey, Mike, we served time together. We went through the struggle.
Matthew Conant was 19 when he entered the prison system.
I shot and killed somebody. I was arrested, convicted, and sent to prison on a 20-to-life sentence.
He served 25 years, mostly in maximum security facilities, before finally earning parole. But he says it took most of that time and a long list of behavioral infractions before he would change his mentality, never expecting to be released. He says the mothers and their message finally gave him a vicarious look at his own victim's family.
And if you're any bit of a human being or have any humanity left in you, when you hear their story, you can't help but realize what you did and despise what you did. And it just changes it remolds your thinking. So the class is priceless.
And put myself in this position where I'm locked in this cage every day.
Now, as a free man, Conant, also known by the rapper name MC, joins Martinez and Mothers with a Message inside the prisons.
So we out here living, right?
And at training center.
That means we got an obligation to do what's right while we have a chance to do what's right, man. Don't squander your time.
Testifying how he was rehabilitated from the inside before he was let out. Maya Trabulsi, KPBS News.
Tomorrow, in part 2 of this story, KPBS reporter Maya Trabulsi takes us inside a state prison where inmates are crossing racial lines to give back to new victims of homicide.